Hello, everyone. It is that time again, and it is now after Sunday. And so I'm coming on just to share some reflections with you and just some things to think about as you head into this week. And on Sunday, I had shared a message entitled A Different Perspective. And the one question I proposed is, what kind of people are we becoming? What kind of people are we becoming? And the reason I asked that question is because the kind of people that we are becoming determines where we are going. And so we talked about how we are becoming a people of encounter whose singular focus is Jesus. He is becoming as he becomes our central focus in our lives, it takes that central place. Everything starts with him and flows from him. And we are also becoming through discipleship. We are daily choosing to live our lives following the ways of Jesus, living in this new family of Jesus as sons and daughters and mothers and fathers. And it's that reminder as a disciple that we belong. And what is God's is ours. We are in the family of Jesus. And we live our lives relationally, where people are more important than problems. People are not problems to be solved, not problems to be fixed, but souls who have great value that we get to do life with and to point them to Jesus, but also to see Jesus living in them and restoring them and restoring us at the same time. We get to see him active in our lives. And that is what we are doing. That is where we are going. We are pursuing him. And so my thought for us as we go into this week, and keeping that in mind, as a people of encounter, we are, as we learn to keep Jesus in the center, we're learning not to react to what's happening around us and become slaves to our anxieties, but instead to be present to Jesus as our focus is on him, to be present to him and what he is doing and saying. And so Peter, one of Jesus's disciples, he was one of the closest. There was three that we knew were kind of on that inner circle with Jesus. It was Peter, James, and John. And Peter has caught my attention this last week. And if you take a look at Peter in the book of John, John chapter 13 especially, and then the top of John chapter 14, when you read it all together and look closely at Peter's reactions, I've noticed, and you'll notice if you read it in this lens, he is very reactive in this whole chapter. And so I just want to take you through that and just kind of point to what Jesus is saying as he responds to Peter. And so the scene is the Last Supper. And Jesus has been telling his disciples that he will die. He is going to be killed, but these things have to happen. And Peter, being, the good Jewish believer that he is, believed that the Messiah was going to come and form an army and a kingdom and overthrow the Roman oppressors and rule the earth. And so Peter is struggling to make sense of all the things that Jesus is saying. He's trying to understand the part that he is to play, and he wants so badly to see God's kingdom come and to reign on the earth and to help it be all that he thinks it should be. So this first scene is Jesus washing the disciples' feet. This was obviously bothering Peter because he says to Jesus, Lord, are you going to wash my feet? And the Lord says, yes, I'm going to wash your feet. And so Simon Peter says, no, you are never going to wash my feet, which is like, what? Jesus answers, until I wash you, you'll have no part of me. And then the Lord says to Simon, and then Peter says, not just when the Lord says that, Peter says, well, then don't just wash my feet, wash all of me, because I want a part of everything, right, that you're doing. And Jesus answers Peter like, those who have had a bath need only to wash their feet. Their whole body is clean. And so Peter's overreacting here. You can hear it in what's happening. And the Lord is just saying, no, that's not necessary. And at the end of this scene, next, Jesus, who it says in the scriptures that he was very troubled in spirit, he says, I tell you that one of you is going to betray me. And the disciples look around at each other at a bit of a loss, like, what? So John, the Apostle John, is leaning against Jesus during this meal. So he's he's one of those three closest disciples. He's reclining next to Jesus. So Simon Peter's like, "Psst, hey, over there," to John, and he says, like, ask him which one he means. And Jesus in this scene literally points Judas out, but none of the disciples get it. None of them hear what he's really saying. And so Judas ends up leaving to go on the mission. And so Jesus is telling the disciples at this point where he is going. He says, you can't come. You can't come where I'm going. And Jesus at this point, he actually issues a new command. And which is interesting because he only commands like 6 things in all of his time with us on earth. He doesn't do more than 6. And this is one. He says, a new command, love one another as I have loved you. So you must love one another. By this, everyone will know that you are my disciples if you love one another. So he's talking about what's going to be so important is that you love like I've loved you. So this is a big deal. And this goes right over Peter's head. Like, Peter doesn't even respond to it. And instead, Peter says, I'm just going to scroll ahead here. Peter says, Lord, where are you going? He doesn't even hear. Lord, where are you going? And Jesus replies, where I'm going, you cannot follow, but you will follow later. So he said this earlier. He's saying it again. And Peter asks, Lord, why can't I follow you now? I will lay down my life for you. And then Jesus answers, will you really lay down your life for me? Very truly, I tell you, before the rooster crows, you will disown me 3 times. And can you imagine the turmoil in Peter? Like, he's like, I'm going to be there for you, Lord. I'm going to help you bring in the kingdom. And the Lord says, you're going to deny me. But Peter is in denial of even that. Like, he's like, well, no, in his head, I'm sure he's like, I could never do that. But Peter is very unaware of his inner turmoil and his lack of security in the Father's love. And the next thing that Jesus says in John 14, he says to the disciples, like right after this, do not let your hearts be troubled. You believe in God, also believe in me. And then he goes on to say that in my Father's house, there are many rooms. If it were not so, I would not have told you so. And I'm going to go there to prepare a place for you. And if I go and prepare a place for you, I will come back and I'll take you to be with me so that you will be where I am. You will know the way to the place where I'm going. And so he's saying, you guys, don't let this throw you. You trust God, don't you? You can trust me. I've got this. And it's not what you think. It's better than you think. Peter, he's like, Peter, trust me. I am the way, the truth, and the life. He says that further down in John 14. Peter, you are loved. I'm going to prepare a place for you. You are in the house. You are home. You are loved. And Peter is not hearing it. And we all know in the story that Peter falls on his face. He does deny the Lord 3 times, just as Jesus predicts. But we also know that the Lord restores him beautifully. And right now, I just want to encourage you, whatever you're facing, where you potentially are serving anxiety and reacting and responding rather than leaning into the Father and being present to what he is saying. If Peter would have been present and leaning into the Father's love, he would have heard what Jesus was saying. Jesus was telling him that he was loved right in that new commandment. He was telling him that love one another as I have loved you. He's telling him how loved he is, but Peter is not hearing that. And Jesus is saying, I've got this. This is the way I must go. It's going to bring you life. It's my love for you that is leading me to do this. You are so loved. You can trust me. So whatever you are facing, where anxiety might be rising, my encouragement this week is to run into the Father's arms and lean against his chest and listen to what he tells you. You are his daughter, you are his son, and he will never leave you. He will never forsake you. He's promised us that. And I'm going to include a song in the notes for you to listen to this week. It's full of scriptures. It's just this beautiful song full of scriptures. And it's a reminder of being a son and being a daughter. And if you can listen to it and just allow the Father to sing over you this week, I know you'll be very encouraged by it. And so bless you as you run into the Father's arms and as you listen to him, and just be present. Choose not to react right away, but just to just pause and be present. And what is Jesus saying to you? A couple of notes for this week. There's lots happening. Just a reminder, Kate reminded us on Sunday morning, but we do have the Fiddler Fandemonium event on Friday, and tickets are available at the door. If you are curious and you want to come and bring someone with you, it's going to be a really fun time. I was actually got a chance to meet one of the fiddlers on Friday, and he was sharing that in the second half of the show, they're actually going to share some personal stories of what has led them to do what they do. So there's going to be music, but also some personal sharing, which I'm excited about. And then our outdoor cleanup is this Saturday morning from 9 to 12. We're going to be cleaning up the beds and the front yard and doing some cleanup. And so if you're able to join us from 9 to 12, it's going to be fun. We're going to be outside and have a good time together. So that is happening. So I just want to encourage you to have a great week, and just know that the Father loves you deeply and dearly, and you can lean into that and rest in that in this week. So bless you. We'll see you soon. Bye for now.